YouTube Nation, Man TV, aka me TV, aka you going to jail now, man. You going to jail. You know what? Now I'm going to go to jail just for making that joke about other people going to jail. Do you see how stupid this has become? Now I put like this: priorities are way out of reach at this point when it comes to fear taking over with people. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sure you see it in the title, about teenagers being arrested for pretty much sarcasm for things that have been said. Now, for those who don't know what's been going on, Justin Carter, that's right, League of Legends player. Now, there's been conflicting reports saying that he said these type of comments in the game, and then some are saying it was on Facebook. Either way, all right, for those who don't know what happened, he was playing League of Legends or whatever, and this person was like, "You're crazy, you're crazy," and he was like, "Sure, I'm crazy, you know, I'll go shoot up a school, blah, blah, blah." And at the end, if anyone read the original quote, he said, "Laugh out loud, I'm just kidding." That's what he said, okay? I'm just kidding. So he made a joke. Now, somebody apparently, I believe it was in Canada, saw that comment, looked up his address to where he was at, that's right, and realized this kid is 100 yards away, he lives 100 yards away from a school, so there's reason for concern. So, now, we all know it's a joke, and what he's saying is not true, but this person is clearly concerned, so they report him to the police. And as we all know, the things that we have seen as of late when it comes to mass school shootings and stuff like this, the police are going to take this seriously, all right? Should we take this seriously? No, because we know by now that you cannot link video games and violence in real life. They're not the cause of violence. Now, I want to talk about this because I've been doing this for about 2.5, 3 years on this crusade, I'll say, of debating with people who really think that video games lead to violence. I mean, the videos are there. If you go back into the log, you can see them. I mean, they're always there. And here's the thing. When it comes to that, I've gone against Fox News, I've gone against Jack Thompson, I've gone against any parents, anybody who really thinks that video games lead to violence in real life. I've done this. I've gone against people in their own blogs. And I've always said to you before, remember, how you have to worry about the industry because the industry is not stepping up to try and defend this. We don't see it enough. And here's the thing. We saw David Jaffe come out, right? And he tried to do something, but then he ended up going on this profanity spree against the person he was debating. You know, this was via Twitter, I believe, actually. So he actually hurts the cause. So keep him out of it. Just keep him out of it. We saw Adam Sessler not too long ago come out and say something, and a lot of people were like, "Yeah, you did good, you did good." But this is what I didn't really like about Adam Sessler's stuff, because he didn't really go that much into detail, as much as I would really have loved for him to do. Because everything he has said, I've said, and many others on YouTube have said as well. Have we not talked about the different regions, and how if you look at the statistics, how they play just as many as violent video games, but crime is down there, right? We saw that. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is the fact that we have seen the media time and time again try to brainwash people into believing that not only video games and entertainment, but children or teenagers or whatever are the problem. They're being influenced by it, and this is what they do. Why? Because kids have hobbies and pop culture all follows. Am I correct? Okay, but we all know it's not true. Now, I want to talk about this just a little bit more, because this is what really sets it up for this kid to be, you know, arrested, because it's starting to hit everybody. I mean, everyone who listens to the news, this is what they do. It clearly is propaganda. But there is one thing, not too long ago, I should say one person from Fox, that actually stepped up and used the same exact argument that yours truly has used and many others here.
Too bad for you.
That's from a very popular video game that kids love. But might it turn them into killers? Whenever there's a mass shooting, people say violent video games probably inspired it.
These are people who have been trained on video games. The video game industry is just like the tobacco industry from years ago when they failed to see that there was a connection between smoking cigarettes and cancer.
Violent video games have encouraged the killing of innocent people for sport.
That was Senator Grassley from Iowa. And he's right, says Franklin Graham, son of Billy Graham. He took over his father's ministry. So why do you think he's right?
Well, first of all, John, God understands violence. His son, Jesus Christ, was nailed to a tree, for our sins and died for our sins, and God raised him to life. God understands violence. And we see violence all around us, but in our country, John, in the last 30, 40 years, violence has come into our homes in the form of entertainment. And it has, you know, when I was growing up, it was Gunsmoke, Marshall Dillon, and he only pulled out his gun to protect and to save life, and the good guys always won. But it's a far cry from the video games that we have today. And what we see on television from Hollywood, every night the gun is glorified.
Well, what do you want to do? You want to ban them?
Well, you know, we have, of course, a constitution, and we won't be able to do that. But we certainly can tax them, John. We can tax violence. Why don't we try that? We do that to cigarettes, alcohol. Why not tax violence and give the money to the people that are the victims?
Now, I noticed that the head of the National Rifle Association agrees with your points. He says the video games business is a corrupt industry.
That sells and stows violence against its own people through vicious, violent video games. Isn't fantasizing about killing people as a way to get your kicks really the filthiest form of pornography?
Filthy porn sowing violence. Come on, he's right to defend gun rights, but there's no good evidence that video games cause violence. I push back to both of you.
And John, and I appreciate that. Listen, I've had guns all my life. My father gave me my first gun when I was 9 years old. Everyone I grew up with had guns, but we didn't go around shooting people. And today, these young kids want to dress like the actors they see in TV or what they see in these video games, and they arm themselves with these rifles and guns, and they go out and they commit these killings. It is sick, and it's a cocaine.
But
our entire nation has become addicted to violence for entertainment, like the Romans.
You talk about all this stuff coming into our homes in the past 30, 40 years, and you're right, there's much more violence, it's much more horrible.
Yeah.
But crime is down. Yeah. Youth offenses are down. Maybe it's good for kids. We don't know.
John, I would say it's not good for anybody to watch murder. These video games, to me, are murder simulators is what they are. And it's very dangerous, John, very dangerous.
In Japan, they watch twice as many of these video games, and the murder rate is a fraction. You look at crime per 100,000 people, 10 firearm deaths in the United States, less than 1 in Japan, and so on. There's just no evidence that playing the games causes people to run around and shoot people.
John, I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you that we do need evidence, okay? We need to have a national study of this, but yet we don't really have one underway at this time, as far as I know. The President and Congress need to get behind and trying to find a way to curb violence. It's an epidemic in our country, and how do we stop this? We need God's help, John, we really do.
In the 1950s, the villain was the comic book. The Senate claimed comics were causing juvenile delinquency. And at one hearing, a so-called forensic scientist said one comic promotes sadistic fantasies to kids. That comic was Superman.
I don't know. And maybe those comic books did have a negative impact. I really don't know. But we don't know unless we have a study, do we? And our government is not focusing on that.
I can't imagine what more study we could have other than the fact that the games are more popular and crime is down. But thank you, Franklin Graham. When we return, we move.
You know, at one point, I'm happy about this. I'm also frustrated because I've been doing this for, like I said, 2.5, 3 years fighting for this. But if a bigger YouTuber comes out and says the same thing, they get all the accolades. You know what I mean? If Sessler comes out and says it, all the accolades. And Stossel now, all the accolades. Like, I'm just used to this by now. You know what I mean? Even though it kind of frustrates me, I should be used to this. Whatever, you know? But I also want to talk about what Graham said. Now, I want to talk about this God thing, because that's the first thing he opens up with. You know, well, God knows violence and everything. Look, let's get something straight. If you have to bring in God and religion, all right, when we're talking video games and violence, you've already lost. Because this has nothing to do with God or religion. This is man, all right, creating and pushing propaganda. That's what this is all about. So if you're really religious, Graham, I put it like this, and you're bringing in God and religion, you've actually just did a disservice to your religion. You've actually hurt it. Because it has nothing to do with it. That's number one. And number two, did anybody hear what he said about video games since they can't, ban them? Did anyone hear what he said? He wants to tax them. Tax them. I showed you before that people want to tax them. What did I tell you about a month ago or so? What did I say? I said that this is prohibition all over again. And some of you clowns came into the comments saying, they're not trying to tax us. You're crazy. Here we go. This is the push. I told you, they will try and demonize you for playing the games. They will try to demonize you for making the games. And if they can't beat you, they will tax you and try to make money off of it. That's what they'll do. I just find it funny because I've been saying this all along. And I put it like this. This is another thing I want to say about the media. Not just the media, but the gaming media and the gaming industry. When something like this happens, you really have to step up and go after them every time, just like we do. Because they're demonizing your fans, the people, the consumers who buy your product. You need to step up and you need to help us out. This needs to be a 50-50, dare I say, relationship. It needs to, but it's still not. Because developers still have their heads so far up their own ass, that's all they're worried about. They think that they're, they're stars. And I'll talk about that a little bit later, maybe in another video. All right. But the fact is, this is a real thing. Now, I want to talk about how this is all a setup for Justin Carter. This is what it comes down to. Because if you think about it, this is all they're saying is people who play video games are, they're more likely to have these mass shootings. All right. Now, as we all know, most people who play video games, now statistically they say it's older, people are in their 30s who can afford it. But as we know, kids are playing these games. All right. And we also know that the parents aren't paying attention to the mature, content, but it doesn't matter. That's not what we're talking about today. Because, of course, nobody's going to take responsibility. We got a scapegoat. So, put it like this. If kids are playing these games and kids are into pop culture and games are part of pop culture or what they're saying they are, well, then, of course, they're going to come down on us with the hammer. You were being watched. Did what Justin Carter, what he said, was it right? No. It wasn't. And I cannot say this enough. I've said it before. I'll say it again. All right? Just because you're on the internet does not give you a free pass to act like an idiot or talk reckless. It doesn't. But it seems like nobody's hearing that. Now, of course, you're going to say, well, Vin, don't people say a lot worse than that? Yes, they do. You have to understand, a lot of people's sarcasm meter doesn't work. So for me, yeah, it's sarcasm. And like I said, once he said he was just kidding, that should have been the end of it. It should have. But I see a lot of people also saying that he should be able to say what he wants, or anybody should be able to say what they want because of freedom of speech. That's not how it works on the internet. In the real world, yes and no. You have your confines in the real world. If you go out and threaten the president and you say freedom of speech, guess what? They're still going to arrest you. That's simple. But I'll put it like this. When it comes to the internet, you should know whether you're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, PSN, Xbox Live, Wii, whatever, you have a terms of service that you have to abide to. And if you don't, you can be banned, you can be thrown out, you can be suspended, whatever. Hell, you can be reported and arrested. So it goes to show you, you don't have freedom of speech. You can only go but so far. And that's what we need to talk about. How far can a joke really go? That's the problem we have right now. Now, parents, I hope you're listening, because the link will be in the info bar where the father says that this kid, Justin Carter, he didn't know what happened at Sandy Hook. He doesn't read the newspaper. He's not up on current events. And he just tries to make all these excuses for the kid being oblivious to what he's talking about. I'm not trying to hear that. That is an excuse. If he came out and said, yeah, I'm going to go shoot up a school, obviously he has heard stuff. I'm not trying to hear it. And that's the only thing I'm going to say bad about the parents on this one, because that's an excuse. You have to be naive, crazy to believe that. That's a joke. All right? You got to take responsibility, parents. This one does fall on you. See what your kids are doing. That's what it comes down to. Now, I will put it like this, because I believe Alpha Omega Sin had said it best. He said about the person who reported him. They looked up his address and found out that he lived 100 yards away from a school. Now, instead of this person going too far, because they're being applauded for pretty much stalking the kid, because that's what that is, instead of saying, hey, wait a minute, you're going too far. It's a joke, and you're taking it way too seriously. But now they're being applauded. They're, shower them with gifts or whatever. And the police department should know better. Now, I'll put it like this. Once that person was reported, and the police department saw that coming out, if there was real cause for concern, the police department should have went there and checked it out. Not go in there like gangbusters and arrest the kid. You've got to be kidding me. That's just wrong. Now, this is the overreaction to the police department. So the police department made the wrong call on this one, I feel. The person who was, from Canada, made the wrong call on this one, I agree. But if you're going to fall into this trap, this brainwash that, oh, this could be real, this could really happen, like I said, you do step one and you check it out first before deciding this person is a threat or not. And like I said, if you're going on the stigma or the stereotype that kids are dressing up, as Graham said, as characters and dressing up as video game people, because apparently they're going to blame all cosplayers now, I guess. We're going to ban that now. Oh, wait, they already did ban that, the Batman theater shootings, didn't they? Can't do that anymore. So, like I said, if you're going to bring on this stigma of people dressing up because now they're a threat, this is going to keep happening. And what I mean by that is everyone is talking about Justin Carter and, what happened with him. But for people don't know, and I'll put the link in the info bar, another teenager was arrested for disparaging comments online as well. That's right. So this is something that is not going the way. They are watching you, people. But yet, I was crazy, right? I'm the one that's crazy. Okay. And I want to talk about this a little bit more. Because, like I said, what's in a joke? Now, I understand that a lot of people are going to say you need to have thick skin for certain things, and that's ridiculous. And I'm going to show you right now exactly what I mean about how a joke can go too far overboard. Now, before making this video, I actually spoke with a number of Jewish people that I know who are gamers and some who are non-gamers. And all of them said the same thing. None of them were offended by the joke, especially since they said it was an old joke, but they said from a gaming standpoint, for that community, they can see where the impact will come from. We already have enough problems in the gaming community as it is, and we're trying to police our own, let alone have a lot of righteous people come along and try to scream sexism, racism, blah, blah. We know these things, happen in the community, but we try our hardest to stop it, to put it to an end. We all know it's never going to end, but we can try to keep it down to a minimum because there's always going to be some idiot who acts a fool. But it doesn't mean that we all have to suffer for it. We all don't have to be penalized for this. And that's the problem I have right now. Because for those who think that that was a little, off censored, and I know some of you want to say that's not a big deal. Okay, well, here's a video I'm going to show you right now that actually targets children. That's right, raping, molesting, and these are from gamers. It's a gamer, and this actually impacts the community. So I want to see people try to justify this one. Now, I already expect a lot of idiots to come in here and say, hey, you know, you just need to have a tougher, a tougher exterior, a thicker skin. You need to man up. First off, I don't know where this machismo stuff comes from. I don't get it, all right? They're obviously bad. They're not even jokes. That's not even a sense of humor. You know what that is? That's somebody saying sick things, hiding behind the guise of comedy. That's what it is, all right? If you have to target, if children are targeted or hurting people or being offensive is supposed to be funny, all right, then you've lost, because that's not what comedy is about. And before anyone says, but comedians do it all the time, yeah, and those comedians went the wrong way too. That's what it is. But everyone thinks they're supposed to be hip, it's supposed to be edgy, you're supposed to look like a rebel. No. The fact is, you don't target children, you don't target different races and make jokes and thinks it's okay because you're on YouTube, you think you're a star. You've got to be kidding me. You're nobody. Just like I'm nobody on here. You're nobody. It doesn't make it right. And I put it like this. If anyone has a problem with what I'm saying right now, you can either leave, you can hit your dislike button, or if you really have a serious problem with what I'm saying, come see me face to face. We will make the time. The fact is, it is sick. It is disgusting. And anybody who thinks it's okay to say those type of comments, there's something wrong with you as well. It's not just, oh, it's the internet, blah, blah. No, no. Because 9 times out of 10, if they have to come up, you have to think, they are creating these things. They are thinking about these things. There's a problem with that individual. It's that simple. And what I'll do is I will put the original video, because where I got it from, I'll put that in the link in the info bar so you can go to the original video of the person who made it, all right, to give them that credit. Okay? But understand, this is something that is far beyond okay. Now, when you look at Justin Carter's, comments, you say, hey, that's a walk in the park. That's nothing compared to these. Exactly. And this is where priorities become a problem, because people they're not looking at the right things, as far as I'm concerned. Now, should Justin Carter have should he have gotten in trouble for what he did, for what he said? Okay. Did he deserve to be arrested? No. He didn't deserve to be arrested. People like that person about targeting kids and raping and molesting kids, and that's not a joke. That's not funny. It's not a joke. Where the hell are you coming from where you think that that's funny? But that person deserves to be at least investigated before deciding to make anything else. But that's okay, right? I'm being sensitive. No, you have to understand. It takes more of a man, because that's what this comes down to, right? Oh, you're just being a little, punk about it. You need to be a man. It takes more of a man to save a life than it does to take a life. It takes more of a man to have constraint and to not say certain things, as opposed to just going crazy. It's called being part of an adult. But it seems like nobody cares, right? I can come on here and drop as many F-bombs as I want. That doesn't make me anything. If anything, it just destroys what I'm saying at this time, especially for this content that we're talking about right now. It doesn't help any. But you should know, and I should know, of course, by now, you should know that this is something that should be unacceptable. And when something like this happens, the gaming community needs to come together and say, you know what? We're going to push you out of it. But of course, every person, like I said not too long ago, will have their fan base. They will have their diehards that will stick up for them regardless how bad they say things or regardless what they say. Because people are stupid. That's why. If you can't tell when something is absolutely wrong or just say, hey, it's all in good fun. No, that's not all in good fun. If that's your idea of fun, I would hate to see what your idea is being serious. Or that's something that's not just say fun, but just over the top laughing. To make jokes like that is sick. It just is. Regardless if you have any type of personal experience in that type of field or not, you know when it's wrong. And you're pushing the envelope to see just how much you can get out of it. Like I said, if that's your target, that's what you have to do to get a laugh, that's not saying much. People, I'm done with this. But this is just the start of things to come. I will have, hopefully, another video for you guys and girls later this week. We have a lot to talk about, a lot of information. Seriously, I got like 854 pieces of email from you people. Just information. All right, just information. So I'm hoping to get to that. But understand, there's the petition in the link in the info bar to help Justin Carter. They only have about, 40,000, I believe, signatures. That's not enough. It's not. The police don't care about 40,000 signatures. That's not enough. You need more. It's going to get to a point where someone's going to have to go out in the real world and possibly protest, if that even helps. This is what the police department does. Or you can get the media involved. Oh wait, they're too busy worried about knocking you down instead of trying to help you. That's what the media does. They are so great, and I have to give them credit on this. They are so great at dividing people for ratings than they are bringing people together and helping. That's what they do best, man. Propaganda at its finest.